I was one of the war children conceived by my parents during a vacation my father took after fighting on the European front. He was a flight engineer on a B-17. He was demobilized after being almost transferred to the Pacific Front. We returned to my mother's home in Florida and began to live the dream of civilian life. My father became a mechanic and earned a decent living. Everything was fine. But then North Korea decided to annex the southern part of the peninsula, and our country did not stand idly by, entering into a new conflict. My father felt it was his duty and re-enlisted in the Air Force, this time as a flight engineer on a B-29. After the conflict, my father decided he had devoted enough time to military service and would serve until retirement, which he did, reaching the highest rank E9. I hope this history lesson hasn't bored you, but I felt it was important to tell you about my childhood. We settled in the sleepy town of Orlando, Florida. Yes, it was a sleepy town back then. We locals refer to that period as BD, before Disney. I graduated from high school and was fortunate enough to get a football scholarship to a small southern college. During my senior year, I met my future wife, Kathy Sweeney, and it felt like we were meant to be together. We fell truly in love. She seemed like everything I ever wanted in life. When I left for college, it meant we would be apart for a long time, but we felt we could make it work, and we did. I came home on the bus as often as my wallet, class schedule, and practice schedule allowed. Oh, those were the homecomings! One practice ended with our middle linebacker tackling me and breaking my knee. It wasn't anyone's fault. It was just the way the game plays out. When I couldn't play anymore, my scholarship was revoked. I was allowed to finish the year, but I couldn't afford to continue my education, and that was the end of my college career. I was studying to be a marine biologist and conducting extensive research on low-frequency whale communication and how it travels long distances in water to attract mates. It seems that the U.S. Navy became very interested in some of my theories, and I wrote several articles about this phenomenon. I was asked to enlist in the military. The other option was the draft, which meant a direct route to Vietnam with no right to return and no $200. On August 6, 1963, I took the oath of office, and 6 weeks later, I was commissioned as an ensign, 01, and began my career in the Navy. I was given the opportunity to continue studying the aforementioned theories, and with Uncle Sam's money, I was able to develop a passive hydrophone capable of picking up these signals, and if the phones were placed in the right order, it was possible to determine their source. I was ordered, to put these theories into practice, as you might have guessed, on the rivers, harbors, and deltas of Vietnam to track enemy movements. Before leaving, I was given 2 weeks' leave, went home, and married Kathy, my high school sweetheart. Kathy Sweeney became Mrs. Kenneth Mapstead. We enjoyed each other as much as 2 weeks would allow, and then I left. It seems that was enough time for us to conceive our first child. Yes, she was pregnant. When Evan was born, I was deep in the country and didn't find out until 3 weeks later. The Red Cross helped me call home, and I was able to talk to my wife and try to comfort her, telling her that I couldn't be there at such an important moment in our lives. My first tour was coming to an end, and we both knew that I would be home soon, which helped us both calm down. My business trip ended. I boarded a C-124 plane and flew to California, and then a couple more times to get home. I was home for 60 days, and we planned to spend that time together as best we could. I tried to bond with my son, but it seems that 1-year-olds are very attached to their mothers. He's a wonderful child. Wow. Where did 60 days go? It seems like I just got off the plane, and now it's time to board another one to get to my next duty station. You guessed it, the next stop was Saigon. I've already bored you enough with all this backstory, but suffice it to say that while I was away, my wife had another son, and I experienced tremendous grief again during a phone call from the Red Cross. At least this time I wasn't 3 weeks late. After 2 tours, I was exhausted, so I submitted my resignation and left the service on August 14, 1967. I was a Navy lieutenant, O3, and Uncle Sam didn't want to let me go, but I was determined to leave. This time, I boarded a C-141 and flew via Hawaii to San Francisco. What a reception awaited us. What the hell had happened to our country if our soldiers returning from the war were being cursed and spat on? I returned home, and even here I was greeted rather coldly. Of course, my parents were overjoyed that I had returned home safe and sound, unlike many of my comrades who returned home without limbs, or worse, in coffins. My wife, although she tried to act normal, seemed a little distracted, and of course my 2 sons, Evan and Darren, were very cold, but that was to be expected. As I began to adjust to civilian life, I noticed little things around the house that seemed out of place, but what could I do? I had been away for 3 years. How could I know what was normal and what wasn't? Our sex life was far from what it used to be, and I began to wonder what had happened to the intimacy we had always felt for each other. I vowed to bring back that intimacy and love, and to start bonding with my 2 sons. I was home now, and my deepest desire was to make it a home for all of us. Unemployment benefits couldn't last forever, so I started looking for work. I began sending out resumes to every company I could find, but it seemed that veterans weren't a priority and weren't in high demand in any job market. I got a call from a company offering me an interview in Langley, Virginia in a week. It seemed they needed someone with my skills for certain operations. I told Katie about the interview invitation, and she didn't seem upset by the possibility of me working for the company. I explained that it would require frequent travel and that I would be away a lot. She replied that she was used to being a single mother and living alone. I thought about it and decided to put the idea on hold. I went to the interview and was hired with the understanding that I would be deploying underwater surveillance systems in oceans and seas around the world. When Katie found out about my new assignment, she wasn't upset about the travel at all and decided it was time to sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk. Okay, what do you want to talk about? You've been on the road almost the entire time we've been together, from high school through college and 4 years in the military. We've spent very little time together, and I've learned to adapt to a certain lifestyle to maintain my emotional balance and sense of self-worth as a woman. I can't disagree that I've been absent for most of our life together, but I had no choice. College was necessary to improve our chances of a successful life, and I had no connection to the Army. Can I ask what changes you made in your life to achieve that lifestyle? Well, when I find a babysitter, I go out with my friends to a bar and a disco, and when I can't find a babysitter, I usually invite them over for dinner and drinks. I see. I'm going to venture a guess that these friends have an attribute between their legs, and you enjoy helping them use that attribute in the evenings. Am I understanding you correctly? You make it sound like I'm promiscuous and selfish, only thinking about myself. That's not true at all. I want you to have the same opportunities and be able to enjoy the company of other people. Isn't that fair? Let's be clear. You want to continue entertaining your friends and allow me to find and entertain mine. Is that the essence of your proposal? Yes, I think that's the best way to put it. We'll have what people call an open marriage. I didn't agree to an open marriage and never thought about cheating, even when all the whores in Saigon were climbing into my lap. I don't understand how you can spread your legs for your friends' entertainment and think I'd agree or even consider such a proposal. As long as I'm here, that's not going to happen. If you want an open marriage, file for divorce. I'm not going to play your stupid games. What's more, I don't want to touch you anymore, so you better take care of your friends. Speaking of your fidelity, are these boys mine? Or have you been entertaining your friends throughout our relationship? No wonder the boys are so wary of me. They've seen so many men come and go that they have no idea who I am or if I'm even in their lives. Believe me, before I start paying child support by court order, I want to do a DNA test to make sure they're my children. How can you say that? Of course they're your children, and I don't want a divorce. What's the point? You'll be able to travel again, and I'll be able to sleep with whoever I want. And you'll be free to sleep with any girl you like. It's a win-win for everyone. Listen to me. This is not happening. First thing in the morning, I'm filing for divorce, and tonight I'm getting DNA samples from the boys and taking them to the lab right after I file. Good luck with child support. I've already been told that Kenny Mapstead no longer exists. As soon as I find a job, I'll get a new identity with a new social security number and all the accompanying documents. Then I'll leave for parts unknown. One thing is certain. You won't know where I'm going. If by some miracle the boys turn out to be mine, I will ensure they receive a proper upbringing through the courts, with your help or with the help of a court-appointed guardian. I'm packing my things and leaving. I don't want to stay in this brothel a minute longer than I have to. That evening, I left and booked a hotel room for 2 weeks. As promised, I filed the paperwork with a family lawyer, went to a local lab, and submitted DNA samples. I paid $200 for expedited processing. As a recent military veteran, I had no real property or large sums of cash to hide or move, only my car, which I planned to sell before reporting to Langley. My phone was flooded with messages. We can work this out. It was just sex. Don't ruin a good thing. The endless vocabulary of a deceiver. I deleted all the messages and then called my parents, which I was very afraid to do. To say they were stunned is an understatement, especially when I mentioned the boys' origins. 3 days later, the lab confirmed our fears. The boys were not mine and did not have the same father. This confirmed all my suspicions. My parents were stunned by the news. That same day, I was handed my papers and began preparing to leave for Langley. Before leaving, I had to make one last phone call, which went something like this. Hello, this is Kathy Mapstead. How can I help you? Kenny Mapstead, you can help yourself by finding out who the fathers of your children are so you can get child support. Goodbye, live in shit, you deserve it.